The Mysterious Boy. In 2003, a local TV show had a pretty unusual tradition. Every November, viewers would send in their strangest paranormal experiences, and most of them were probably the kind of stories you would hear once and forget about. But then a person sent in a video that was a little different. The footage had been recorded by a basketball coach. He was filming his players while they were practicing, just like he normally used to. In the footage, kids were running around, people moving everywhere, and as far as the coach knew, nothing had seemed unusual. But later, when he went home and started watching the footage, he noticed a figure run across the screen. It looked like a kid. And at first, you may not think much of it. I mean, there were so many kids in the video. Maybe another child just happened to walk across the area, except the coach didn't remember seeing this child. Not only that, apparently none of the players remember him either. So the coach called some of the kids and showed them the footage, and their reaction was basically the same. They were confused, they didn't recognize that person. However, they did state that that entire day did feel strange. They felt an unusual cold breeze in the area, which doesn't sound particularly terrifying until you remember that this was happening during the summer. After this, people started looking at this video much more carefully, and they noticed something else. This mysterious child who runs across the area doesn't seem to have a shadow. However, all the other kids do have shadows. But this wasn't the case for this mysterious boy. And that alone completely changed how people looked at this video, because the obvious question became, was this even a real person? Some people online started suggesting that maybe it is something paranormal, and the lack of a shadow did support that theory. And if you believe that spirits can appear on camera without being visible in person, then the story almost explains itself. Maybe the coach didn't see the figure because there was nothing physically there. Maybe the camera captured something the human eye couldn't. And maybe the weird breeze the kids felt wasn't just a coincidence either. Now, this theory does seem plausible, but there is a problem. There is actually a very normal explanation to why the coach could have missed someone walking through the frame. It is called inattentional blindness. Basically, your brain isn't constantly processing everything in front of your eyes. It's filtering. If you focused on something important, your brain can completely ignore everything else, even if it's right in front of you. And I'm sure most of you have probably experienced this. So now imagine you're a basketball coach, you're watching your players, you're thinking about the drills and you're paying keen attention to the game. A random kid runs through the background. There is a good chance your brain simply doesn't register him. Then later, you're sitting at home with nothing distracting you and you start watching the recording, and suddenly there he is. That explanation actually makes more sense. But then, what about the shadow? If this was just a random kid moving through the frame, why doesn't he have a shadow? Well, there is another possible explanation to that. The footage isn't exactly the best quality, it's grainy. The camera is constantly moving and the angle isn't all that perfect. And depending on where the sun was that day, the shadow could have been simply faint or hidden from a certain camera angle. Some people have reported that when the footage was slowed down, traces of a shadow can actually be seen in certain frames. So maybe there wasn't something paranormal actually going on that day, but there is one key detail that keeps this case alive. You see, someone claimed to remember the original broadcast and said that the video came from the Philippines. They claimed that the area was newly developed, meaning there weren't many people living around. And they also pointed out that seeing a black child in that area was particularly unusual. Now, that doesn't prove anything, but it creates another question. If that was just a random child, who is he? Where is he going and where is he from, and why was he there to begin with? Because even if we accept that the coach had overlooked the child, we still don't have an identity. We don't have another recording of him. We don't have someone coming out saying, yeah, that is my child. We don't have anything. And that's what keeps this case so interesting. The paranormal explanation has contradictions, and the normal explanation isn't perfect either. Maybe the coach actually overlooked the kid being there, or maybe there was something strange actually going on in the video. There just isn't enough proof to confirm either side. And without knowing who the kid was, we're left with a video of someone who apparently appeared out of nowhere. The Witch in the Desert. This next video starts with a man driving down a dark road. It's quiet and there's almost nothing around him. And then in the distance he notices someone standing in the middle of the road. At first, it looks like a woman dressed in all white, but the longer you watch her, the stranger she becomes. She's moving in a really unusual way, not like someone casually walking down a road. And whoever's recording seems genuinely frightened. He keeps looking at her and you can hear the fear in his voice. This wasn't someone calmly filming something interesting. He sounds like he genuinely doesn't know what he is looking at. And that reaction is part of what made this video so popular. People online immediately started asking the obvious question, what is that? Some people came to a pretty terrifying conclusion that she was a witch. Now that sounds like something straight out of a horror movie, but there is a very good reason as to why people gave that as a possible conclusion. Now the video was supposedly recorded in Saudi Arabia, and beliefs surrounding witchcraft and supernatural practices are taken very seriously within cultural and religious context of the region. So if the person recording genuinely believed that he was looking at something supernatural, his fear starts to make more sense. But then somebody offered a more grounded explanation. A Reddit user claimed that they had actually lived in the area where the footage was recorded, and pointed out something many people may have overlooked. There's a Bedouin community living in the remote areas of Saudi desert. So what if this wasn't a supernatural figure? What if it was just simply a woman who was wandering away from where she lived? And once you consider that possibility, some of the behavior becomes less mysterious. A person suffering from a serious mental health or neurological condition could become very confused or disoriented. They might wander off without fully understanding where they're going. They might move strangely, and they might not react to danger the way we would expect it. And if this happened somewhere extremely isolated, finding someone who had wandered away could be incredibly difficult. However, that explanation still has flaws. We don't actually know whether this woman was a Bedouin. We don't know whether she was mentally ill, and we don't even know who she is. That is all speculation. The only thing we really have is a video of a woman moving strangely in a remote area. Everything else comes from people trying to explain what they're seeing. But the footage itself doesn't give us much information to confidently tell what is going on here. So, is this a supernatural figure that terrified the person recording, or an ordinary human being who was simply in a very unusual situation? That is up for you to decide. The sounds of Gettysburg. This one starts with something incredibly simple. Someone is standing in an empty field, it's getting late and they're basically alone. And then they hear something. At first, it sounds like drums and later gunfire. The person recording looks around and there is no one around him. It's all an empty field. So they start following the sound, and this is where the story gets a little strange, because every time they try to get closer, the sounds seem to always stay ahead of them. It's almost like chasing something they can't reach. Eventually, they still can't find the source. And if you know where this was recorded, it's probably gonna make the whole video a lot more creepier. The video was supposed to be recorded at Wheatfield in Gettysburg. And this isn't just any ordinary location. A massive battle happened there. Thousands of people died around that area. So when somebody tells you that they were standing alone in the field and started hearing old-fashioned gunfire or military drums, your brain immediately makes a connection. Maybe they were hearing the past. There is actually a paranormal idea that intense traumatic events can somehow leave an imprint on a location. And if that is true, maybe the person wasn't hearing someone playing drums at all. Maybe they were hearing something that happened almost a century ago. To make this situation even more stranger is that multiple people have reported experiencing the same things. One person online said that they had visited the location multiple times and they heard the same gunfire and drums. They even talked about strange lights, something that we couldn't see in the video. Now, obviously, one person's story doesn't prove anything, but if multiple people really are hearing similar sounds in the area, that does make the story more suspicious and creepy. This entire situation leaves you with the question, are all these people imagining the same thing? Or is there something else causing it? And this is where people tried giving a normal explanation. The easiest possibility is that someone was simply playing the sounds. Maybe there was a speaker hidden somewhere, maybe another visitor was playing an audio recording. Or maybe the person recording didn't realize how actually far the source was. Some people claim to have heard the sounds when nobody else was around. Other reports supposedly existed before portable speakers or modern devices of that nature were even existing. So if the older reports are genuine, what were those people hearing? Now, whether somebody staged the recording or these were actual noises from the past, we may actually never know because all we have is a video and a few claims.